Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'll be considering some of the greatest tennis players in men's tennis history. So in this list, the first name that comes to everyone's mind is Novak Djokovic. So Novak Djokovic, who belongs to Serbia, is currently ranked world number one. He held the top position, world number one ranking for a total of 374 weeks, and he actually finished year-end in open record 7 times. He has won a total of 93 singles titles in the ATP Tour, which includes a record 22 Grand Slam titles, which include 10 Australian Open titles and a record 38 Master titles, and a joint record 6 Tour finals and a record 66 big titles. So he has won the major Grand Slam events at least twice. He has won Australian Open 10 times in 2008, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 20, 21 and 23. He has won the French Open in 2016 and 21. He has won the Wimbledon 8 times in 2011, 14, 15, 18, 19, 21 and 22. He has won 7 times, He has won the US Open 3 times in 2011, 15 and 18. And he is currently considered as one of the favorites to win all the 3 Grand Slam events, and Rafael Nadal, considering that he has won the French Open title record 14 times, is considered the favorite to win the French Open. So he's actually now 35 years old. He's still considered as a favorite to win Grand Slam events. So regarding his playing style, he is actually very aggressive in the forehand and can hit winners on the both sides of the through the forehand and backhand. He has a good serve. He has a good drop. He plays a good drop shot also, and he actually covers both sides of the court, and rarely makes any mistakes while playing in rallies. That makes it difficult for his opponents to get any points, and he is very sharp during break points, and plays very accurately through from the baseline, so that will actually deny his opponents for any chance to get any set. So that is actually crucial that he actually won many Grand Slam finals. And regarding his record in Grand Slam events, you can actually see that he has won around 22 Grand Slam titles and was runner-up 11 times. So his first Grand Slam final was in 2007. He actually lost to Roger Federer in 3 sets. In 2008, he won the first Grand Slam title in Australian Open. We actually beat Joe Wilfred Tsonga in 4 sets. In 2010, US Open, he lost in the final to Rafael Nadal in 4 sets. And then he had a win in 2011 Australian Open. He beat Andy Murray in 3 sets. And in the same year, he beat Rafael Nadal in the Wimbledon final in 4 sets. In the same year, he won the US Open, beating Rafael Nadal again in 4 sets. So 2011, he actually won 3 Grand Slam events, and in 2012 he won the Australian Open, beating Rafael Nadal in a cliffhanger in 5 sets. He lost in the French Open final in 2012 to Rafael Nadal in 4 sets, and in the US Open also he lost to Andy Murray in 5 sets. And in the next year, 2013, he won the Australian Open, again beating Andy Murray in 4 sets. And in 2013, he actually lost the Wimbledon final to Andy Murray in 3 sets. And in the same year, he lost. 2013 was a disappointing year as far as Novak Djokovic concerned. He actually was able to win only the Australian Open. As compared to that, he actually won 3 titles in 2011. So in 2014, he lost in the French Open final to Rafael Nadal in 4 sets, but he won the Wimbledon, beating Roger Federer in 5 sets. So that was his first win against Roger Federer in the Grand Slam final in Wimbledon. And in 2015, he won the Australian Open, again beating Andy Murray. And in 2015, in the French Open, he lost to Stan Wawrinka in a 4 sets. So Stan Wawrinka has beaten Djokovic 2 times in the Grand Slam finals, and in 2015 Wimbledon, he actually beat Roger Federer the second time to win in the Wimbledon title. He actually won that match in 4 sets. And in 2015 US Open, he beat Roger Federer again to win the US Open title. He won in 4 sets. In 2016 Australian Open, he actually beat Andy Murray again in 3 sets. And in French Open, he won his career Grand Slam. He posted his career Grand Slam beating in the French Open in 2016, beating Andy Murray in the final in 4 sets. He beat semi-final in the he beat Rafael Nadal in the 2016 French Open semi-final. And in 2016 US Open, he lost to Stan Wawrinka. That's his second loss to Stan Wawrinka. He lost in 4 sets. And in 2018 Wimbledon, he actually beat Kevin Anderson of South Africa in 3 sets to win the Wimbledon title. And in 2018 US Open, he backed Juan Martin Del Potro in 3 sets. In 2019 Australian Open, he beat Rafael Nadal in 3 sets. So he has actually consistently beaten Rafael Nadal in the final of the Australian Open. And Andy Murray and Rafael Nadal in the Australian Open finals. And in 2019, the same year, he actually beat Roger Federer in the Wimbledon final. That was a very cliffhanger match. He actually won 13-12 in the 5th set. Federer even got a match point in that match, but Djokovic prevailed. Yeah, that was a very cliffhanger. That was a very disappointing result for Roger Federer and was a unexpected victory for Djokovic, considering that it is very difficult to beat Roger Federer in a Wimbledon final when he's actually having a break point, when he's actually having a break point or match point. And in 2020 Australian Open, he beat Dominic Thiem in a close 5-set match and won his Australian Open title. In 2020 French Open, he actually lost to Rafael Nadal in 3 sets. And in this next year in Australian Open, he actually beat Daniel Medvedev in 3 sets to win the Australian Open. In the same year, he actually won the French Open, beating Stefan Tsitsipas in a close match. That is, he won in 5 sets after trailing 2 sets to down. And in the same year, 2021, he actually won Wimbledon by beating Berrettini of Italy in 4 sets. So in 2021 also, he actually won 3 Grand Slam titles in 2012, like in 2011, where he won 3 Grand Slam titles. And in the last year 2020, he won the Wimbledon, beating Nick Kyrgios in the 4 sets. In 2023, that is current year, he actually has won the Australian Open by beating Stefano Tsitsipas in 3 sets. So he actually didn't play in the 2021 US Open due to COVID restrictions in USA, and Australian Open also he didn't play last year. And he's actually been he has actually won he has played altogether he has played 33 Grand Slam finals and won 22 titles, and he has been runner-up 11 times. So regarding his performance record against other players also, he has actually in the head-to-head, he is actually ahead of had won more matches than losses against most other players. And regarding his winning streaks, he has actually had a good winning streak against Rafael Nadal, both Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer. And his record in Grand Slam titles actually proves that he is one of the greatest players of all times. So you can see that he actually made his Grand Slam debut in 2005 Australian Open. He actually reached the first round in 2005 Australian Open. He reached the second round in the same year in French Open, and Wimbledon and US Open he reached the third round. In 2006 he also he reached the first round in the Australian Open, but he reached the quarterfinals in French Open in 2006, the second year of his Grand Slam career. And in 2006 he actually reached the fourth round in the Wimbledon and the third round of US Open. In 2007 he reached the fourth round of Australian Open, a performance improvement as compared to 2006 and 5, and he reached the semi-finals in both French Open and Wimbledon, and he reached the final of US Open. So that is an impressive record for a young career, and that is actually for a young Djokovic, who has actually made the Grand Slam debut only in 2005, having reached the semi-finals in 2 Grand Slam events in 2007 and reaching the finals in the US Open. And so in 2008 he actually won the first Grand Slam title, beating Roger Federer in the 2008 Australian Open final. He won. Sorry, actually he didn't beat Roger Federer. He actually beat Joe Wilfred Songa in 3-4 sets to win the first Grand Slam title. And in 2008 semi-finals, he actually lost in the semi-finals. He reached the semi-finals, and 2008 Wimbledon, he actually lost in the second round. And 2008 US Open, he reached the semi-finals. And in 2009, he won. He reached the quarterfinals of Australian Open, but lost in the third round in French Open. And in he was actually reached the quarterfinals of the Wimbledon and reached the finals of the US Open. So he has already reached the he in 2010 he reached the quarterfinals of Australian Open and reached the quarterfinals of French Open also, and in the Wimbledon he reached the semi-finals, and the US Open he reached the finals. So by the end of 2010 he reached two US Open finals and won one Australian Open. So that actually was very indicative of the great talent in Novak Djokovic. So that was actually a sign of what was expected in the future for a promising champion. So in 2011, he won his second Grand Slam title by winning the Australian Open and reached the semi-finals of French Open and won the Wimbledon and US Open. He won 3 Grand Slam titles in 2011. And in 2012, he won the Australian Open and reached the finals of French Open, reached the semi-finals of Wimbledon, and reached the finals of US Open. So that was an impressive performance in the 2012. Also, he reached the 3 finals and won one Grand Slam title and reached the semi-finals of the Wimbledon. 2013 also he won the Australian Open, reached the semi-finals of French Open, reached the finals of both Wimbledon and US Open. So that is another impressive performance. 3 years in a row he's actually reached the semi-finals of all the Grand Slam titles. In 2014 he reached the quarterfinals of Australian Open, reached the finals of the French Open and won the Wimbledon title and reached the semi-finals of US Open. In 2015 he won 3 Grand Slam titles again, won the Australian Open, Wimbledon and US Open, and reached the finals of French Open. So like in 2011, he has actually won 2 Grand Slam titles in 2015 also. And in 2016 he won 2 Grand Slam titles, winning both Australian Open and French Open, and he completing the career Grand Slam in French Open in that year and reached the third round in Wimbledon and reached the finals of US Open. So in 2017 he reached the second round of Australian Open, that was an upset, and he reached the quarterfinals of French Open and Wimbledon, and was absent in the US Open. So 2017 was 1 year where he didn't win any Grand Slam titles. In 2018 he improved performance, he reached the fourth round of Australian Open, reached the quarterfinals of French Open and won the Wimbledon US titles. So he won 2 Grand Slam titles again in 2018. And in 2019 he won the Australian Open and Wimbledon, reached the semi-finals of French Open and reached the fourth round of US Open. He won 2 titles again in 2019 like in 2018. And in 2020 he won the French Open, he won the Australian Open and reached the finals of French Open, and the Wimbledon was not held in that year and reached the fourth round of the US Open. In 2021 he again won 3 titles, winning the Australian Open, French Open and Wimbledon. So completing the rare achievement that is not that was actually I think was met only by Roger Federer, and he actually like in 2011 15 he has completed the 3 Grand Slam victories in 2021. In 2022 he was actually absent in Australian Open due to some COVID related restrictions imposed by Australia, and in 2000 he reached the quarterfinals of French Open and won the Wimbledon in that year. And last year I'm absent in the US Open also due to COVID requirements, which was not actually complied by Novak Djokovic. In this current year he won the Wimbledon title already, so he has good chance to win both the Wimbledon and US Open this year, because he is considered the favorite to win both the Wimbledon and US Open. And Rafael Nadal, having won 14 Grand Slam titles in French Open, is considered the favorite in French Open. But who knows, he may even win the career Grand Slam this year. So we need to wait and watch. Still, he is actually 35 years old currently, but he is still going very strong, and he is considered considering the record. Now you can see that he has won a large number of reached the last number of finals, and he has only for a few 4-5 tournaments only reached the third round or second round. Apart from that, he has performed impressively in the Grand Slam titles. So that actually proves that he is one of the greatest players of all times. So he is, as far as I am concerned, he is the greatest tennis player who is living who's actually currently playing tennis now. And apart from that, he is even, I feel that he is actually even better than Roger Federer, because if they consider the impressive battles between Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic has won more victories as compared to Roger Federer, and he has been quite impressive against all his opponents, including Rafael Nadal. Regarding the head-to-head rivalry with the greatest tennis players, and Nadal has played 59 times, with Djokovic leading that head-to-head 30 to 29, with Djokovic leading in hard courts 27, Nadal leading in clay courts 28, and they are tied on grass courts 22-2. They have played a record 18 Grandslam matches, with Nadal winning 11 matches and Djokovic winning 8 matches. So, but most of the Djokovic wins has been in other Grand Slam events like Australian Open and Wimbledon, but with Nadal having a better head-to-head record in the US Open and the French Open. French Open, Nadal, Djokovic is one of the only few players who have beaten Rafael Nadal. And regarding the head-to-head between Roger Federer, they actually have played around 27. They actually have around 50 times, with Djokovic winning around 27 times and Federer winning 23 times. Djokovic leads in hard court head to head with 2018, and as well as on grass 3-1. They are split 4-4 in clay. And actually, in the initial years of Djokovic's career, Federer was victorious against Djokovic. But actually, then the final years of Federer, Djokovic was more superior than Federer, and he has actually won more Grand Slam titles, including the final in Wimbledon 2009, which was one of the longest Wimbledon finals in the history. So, actually, in the once in the French Open semi-finals, Federer has beaten Djokovic. But in the US Open final also, as well as the 2020 Australian Open final also, Djokovic was a winner. So in the recent matches, and apart from that, he has beaten Federer in the 3 Wimbledon finals, including the one in 2019. And regarding the rivalry with Andy Murray, both have played 36 times, with Djokovic leading 25-11. Actually, they have played Djokovic leads 5-1 in clay and 28 in hard courts, and Andy Murray leads 2-0 on grass. They have played 3 Grand Slam final, more than they have actually played around 19 times in finals, with Djokovic leading 11-8, and 10 of the finals are Masters finals. In the Masters final, they are actually tied 5-5, and they actually have played around 7 Grand Slam finals, with most of the finals in Australian Open winning by Djokovic. But Murray had beaten Djokovic in the US Open final once and the Wimbledon final once. So apart from that, all other matches were won by Djokovic. And regarding the rivalry with Stan Wawrinka also, Djokovic and Wawrinka has played 26 times, with Djokovic leading 26. They have contested a lot of close matches, including 4 5-setters in Grand Slam tournaments. And they actually played 3 Australian Opens, each might going to 8 5, and they actually have played a 5-setter in the US Open also. In 2013 Australian Open 4th round, Djokovic won 12th and 5th set. In 2013 US Open, Djokovic won 6-4 in the 5th set, and in the 2014 Australian Open quarterfinals, Wawrinka won 9-7 in the 5th set. And actually, Djokovic actually in the French Open final, Wawrinka defeated Djokovic in 4 sets to claim second major title. And once in the US Open also, Wawrinka had beaten Djokovic to win his Grand Slam title. So he is one of the very few players who have beaten Djokovic in Australian Open, French Open, and US Open. And he has actually won 3 Grand Slam titles, beating Djokovic in the way. So a lot of close matches involving Wawrinka were contested by Djokovic. Apart from that, he had actually played John Del Potro. He has a good head-to-head record, 16-4 against John Del Potro. He has won the US Open once, and he has also won against Del Potro in the Olympic bronze medal match. And he has played a Joel Wilfred Songa 23 times, with Djokovic leading 17-6. And he has also played Daniil Medvedev. They actually played 13 times, and Djokovic leading 9-4. And they have played 2 finals, with the Medvedev winning in the 2021 US Open and Djokovic winning in the 2021 Australian Open. So in future, we can actually expect more matches between Medvedev and Djokovic in the finals. And Medvedev is a promising youngster. He can actually has the potential to win more Grand Slam titles. So the future, apart from that, he has played with Stefanos Tsitsipas around 13 times in jockey, leading 11-2, including the 2021 French Open final and the 2023 Australian Open final this year. So this is also a promising rivalry that can actually promise a lot of close matches in future. So considering that all his rivalries with the greatest tennis players at the present and past, and the current, he's actually had a better head-to-head record against most players. So even against Rafael Nadal, so he that actually consolidates position as the greatest tennis player of all times. So there is a lot of debate going on who is the greatest tennis player of all time. So some players actually feel that Djokovic is the greatest tennis player of all time. Example, actually he has beaten primarily because he has won more tournaments by beating the top players in the world and have better head-to-head records against the biggest rivals in the strongest era in tennis. So collecting the most number of weeks as number one, winning the most big titles, beating the top 10 5 players the most, finishing the most years at number one. Even the top 10 and 15 players, if you see the head-to-head record against Djokovic, they may have only one or two matches as compared to their losses of 10 or 12 matches against Djokovic. So they may have beaten Roger Federer more times than Djokovic. So Djokovic has a better impressive record of over 80 to 90% head-to-head record against most players. And considering the main rivals of Djokovic, Roger Federer, he is actually have better head-to-head record, and Rafael Nadal also he has a better head-to-head record. So recently he has won most Grand Slam titles, beating both Djokovic. I mean, in the final years of Roger Federer and Nadal, he has won the final. He's convincingly beating both of them, and he is credited with beating the higher ranked players on the way to his Grand Slam tournament trophies than anyone among the big three. And Daniel Medvedev, who is actually one of the young latest talents, who's actually one of the leading tennis players, has labeled Djokovic as the greatest tennis player in history after winning his 2021 US Opens against Djokovic. And Pat Cash also has emphasized that Djokovic is one of the two players who beat Rafael Nadal in the French Open, which he considers the biggest challenge in tennis. So beating Rafael Nadal, he has actually beaten Rafael Nadal two times. So no player has achieved that feat in French Open, because Rafael Nadal is considered the king of clay. So considering his all-round performance in all surfaces, Pat Cash believes that Roger Federer is the greatest tennis player of all times. And Richard Krajicek and The Roar, the sports opinion website, also said that Djokovic should be considered the greatest tennis player of all time because he is the only one among the greatest ever who's won 4 Grand Slams in a row. And Patrick Mouratoglou stated that Novak is a complete player at all times. This enables him to find the solution for most of the problems on court, and this on every surface explains why he is the best position to become the greatest tennis player of all times. And Djokovic is also considered as one of the greatest returners in the history of the sport. And earlier that position was taken by and position was held by Andre Agassi, who was considered the best returner ever. But he also, staying clear of the best ever conversation, tennis coach Nick Bollettieri had continuously been praising Djokovic as the best complete player ever and the most perfect player of all time. And even Andre Agassi is considered that Djokovic has the best return in the men's tennis game. And when you look at the match players in tennis history of the tennis, I don't believe that anybody can equal everything on the court that Djokovic does. So I don't think you need to find a weakness in his game. His movement, personality, his return of serve, his serve, excellent touch, not hesitant coming to the net, great serve. Overall, almost every player has a downfall. To me, he doesn't have one. So he's perhaps the best player that I have ever seen in 60 years. So that is the opinion of some other players like Nick Bollettieri. And Pete Sampras, who is at the time of retirement in 2000, was considered as one of the greatest players, also stated unequivocally that after Djokovic picked up the record-breaking 7th year number one in 2021, he told that 7 years for him, I'm sure he sees as a bonus to all the majors that he's won, but I think he will appreciate it more when he gets older. He did it at the time when dominated by two of the greats in Roger and Rafa, and he handled next generation players very well. And all the same time, I do think what Novak's done over the past 10 years, winning the majors, being consistent, finishing number one for 7 years, to me is a clear sign that he's the greatest of all time. So that word is coming from the Pete Sampras, who was considered one of the greatest players in his generation. He retired early at 31 years old. I won 14 Grand Slam titles due to some injury relation. But a word from Pete Sampras that Djokovic is the greatest tennis player consolidates the general belief that he is the greatest tennis player of all times. And tennis pundits have classified that many of Djokovic matches are one of the greatest matches in contest ever. Particularly 2012 Australian Open final in which we beat Rafael Nadal. And some analysts claim that Djokovic Nadal rivalry ranks as the best rival in tennis history because of the quality of matches they produced.